the fuck was that, dude? There's like, they're just blowing stuff up.
Blowing shit up, dude.
Yeah, they hate the Waymos.
They just burn them all down.
Yeah, they're burning the Waymos.
Yeah. So guys, what do you think about this? Is this a protest, riot? What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's a couple cars on fire, but I don't think it's something that warrants calling in the Marines to quell an uprising. I mean, protests, there's a lot of people that are extremely upset, and rightfully so. I mean, there's a large population of undocumented workers, immigrants in the LA area.
Well, let's stay on that point where you said it wasn't a lot of damage. So it looks like 7 private vehicles were completely destroyed and over 60 police vehicles were damaged or destroyed. 7 police officers were injured. 7. None of them fought back because they were instructed, like, if you fight back, you're going to jail. So no one, like, people were throwing rocks, spitting in the face of police, throwing smoke in their face. Normally a cop would fucking slam you on the ground or pull up their gun and shoot you if you threw a rock at them. But they were scared to go to jail. So they didn't defend themselves. 27 businesses were looted. So pull up the video of the Apple store. Yeah, pull this one. The whole store was looted. This is just one. Adidas outlet, the Jordan flagship store was completely looted and ransacked. A CVS, jewelry store, sushi place, the Japanese American National Museum.
Oh,
Like, is this not a big deal? No police should do anything. So the 2 issues I have a problem with is over and over and over again, the Democrats allow protests to turn into violent action throughout this country. And you want to know why I'm upset? Is like, what if I lived in that neighborhood? What if it was my business that just got looted? What if it was my car that got destroyed? What if I couldn't even turn to the police for help? What if I fucking shot somebody that was rooting I'd be in fucking jail right now, being prosecuted by a super progressive DA. I would. Fucking white guy shoots a minority in my store. I should have walked away and let him take whatever he wants. I have insurance. That's not America. Like, if it was the other way around and it's a Republican cause and we were looting like this and
Like January 6th?
like January 6th, it was blowing up as it should be, right? Can't fucking do that. Yet over and over and over again, the mass media, and it trickles down to everybody that just hears those 10-second bites or 2-minute news bites in the morning that, like, it's not even a fucking big deal. They burn a couple cars. You have one guy waving a Mexican flag. It's fine. They're pissed off. Trump caused this. And now he's going to send the fucking Marines in? Like, what is he doing? He's sending the Marines in because it was getting worse. And the fucking mayor of LA said, don't fucking do anything. Please don't do anything. They're finally starting to arrest people with the National Guard standing by them. And they're actually now starting to arrest people and protesters. And I don't know. Do you really feel that this was just
No, I mean, I believe
normal and like this is okay and it justifies all that damage is totally cool?
I think the right to peaceful protest is paramount to our democracy, for starters. But there's always going to be a bad element, and there's always going to be opportunistic people. It didn't look like a bunch of like Latin Americans running into that Apple store to me, did it? I mean, I know that it just seems like when there's civil unrest like that there's people that seize that opportunity to do things like loot businesses. But I mean, you have to expect that there's going to be people that are going to protest. And, it depends on where you get your news, which you get your news source from. You said the police were instructed not to arrest anyone, not to use violence, not to defend
Well,
themselves.
well,
Then did you see the video of the Australian news press getting shot with a rubber bullet? So, I mean, was that a one-off or?
well, they were instructed to use extreme caution. Like, so unless their life was in danger, and this is what I heard, right? And maybe this is misinformation, but it came from a news network. I wish I would have saved the video. That they need to show restraint, full restraint. And people can get killed just getting arrested. You slam someone's head on the concrete and they could die, right? So that would scare the shit out of me if I was a cop. Instead of our politicians, or because that's all they are politicians, having the back of the people that go out there and put their lives on the line to protect us. Because when you get fucking robbed, you're not calling me, you're calling the police. They need to be respected and be able to do their job. And when you have people throwing rocks and cinder blocks off of an overpass,
Yeah.
that's fucking attempted murder, bro.
For sure.
If I fucking did that and I killed somebody, I'm going to jail for life.
Yeah.
And no one's fucking arrested, dude. They just fucking they got away with it and they're destroying police cars. Like, it's crazy. So it makes me think there's something greater behind it. Because Trump is not going and arresting grandma or the mom that's been here for 10 years. He's only arresting fucking criminals with criminal records. And we'll get into that later on, like, the drastic difference in just everybody's just response to deportation from just a few years ago when Obama was in office. That fucker just deported everybody. And no one gave a shit. No, the news didn't freak out. There was no protests, no riots. Obama, when he was in office, 4.58 million encounters or illegals into the country. He deported 5.24. He deported fucking everybody, right? Everybody's getting deported. And we can skip to his video right now. Do you have it? Yeah, this is a flashback, 2014.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what he's doing. Now, I
think Obama's messaging is better than Trump's messaging.
That doesn't matter. It's the reality. And the problem is that you have the news freaking out, scaring everybody that he's coming for everybody, when he's not. And if he does reach that point where he's going and he's getting people that I know, right, that may not be fully documented, but have been here their whole lives, I'll be the first to be like, that's bullshit, right? I'll maybe join a protest.
So you don't think that he's going to schools and going to churches and the things that are
only if they're criminals. Like if they were criminals and they have a criminal record, he's getting them out. And he may jump and say, okay, we got all the criminals out. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to. Right? But let's say he gets all the criminals out and he might be like, all right, now let's go after everybody. Well, Obama was kicking people out.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. If you came in and you were not a criminal, but you just came in, he was throwing you the fuck out. He was separating parents from their kids when they were born here. He's the one that built the cages. Like, and I think the momentum in our country just to say, we have to just allow America just to be overloaded. It's not just America. It's all Western nations are in this place where mass immigration has been pushed on us over the last, 5-6 years. Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, Canada, United States, all Western nations. You know, fucking South Africa. Nobody's saying Japan, you better let everybody in, or the Middle East. Fucking nobody. So I think we need to like open our minds just a little bit and say, why are they doing that? Like, what's it about Western culture that they're trying to dilute and overwhelm? Because you're overwhelming the systems when you do this. It might be about political votes. It might be about being nice to people and everybody has a fair shot. So going back to this, Obama returned 5.24 million. That's what he deported. He was called the deporter in chief. Biden, during his 4 years, 11 million. They're saying either got into the country or there was encounters, and he was allowing most of those encounters into the country. So we're saying between 9 and 11 people came into the country versus Obama, where he might have had 1 million or 2 slip through. Massive change in policy from the Democratic Party. And I don't know what changed. I'm like sitting there thinking, like, the fuck changed? Like, what? Like, I'm all for immigration. We need immigration because no one's fucking having kids. If we want our economy to grow and for jobs to increase and demand for housing and more businesses and just grow the economy, we need immigrants. But it can't be unchecked and just fucking let them all in, especially criminals. Like, what the fuck? Like, get the criminals out. Trump, during his first administration, only 3.1 million. So he brought it way down. He did all those policies, remain in Mexico, he put money in the Border Patrol, all the stuff he did. Still had 3.1 million. Trump right now, while everybody's freaking out, has only deported in his first term only 2 million. Compare that to Obama's 5.24 million. Okay, everybody's freaking out, right? He's only deported between 12,000 and 130,000, depending on whose news source you go to, so far this term. And they're freaking out. And now there's a bunch of people saying, and it looks like there's some evidence that this is privately funded in the protests. Which makes sense. If they're like, dude, if we just fucking go at him right now, really hard, while he's only deported 12,000, it's going to make it, we're going to slow down the process. And we're going to make it like this dragged out 4 years of just resistance. And he may only be able to deport 1 million, maybe 2 million. Let's keep him under the number he did last time. And then when we get in the house, we'll bring another 11 million and we'll just dilute it more and more and more. And the system it's already going to break based on our spending, which is insane. But there's something more going on, and I don't know what it is, right? I don't know.
Okay, so rough estimates from what I've read, and I'm no expert in this, that there's 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country. You think that there's 2 million you think 2 million of those 11 million are criminals? You think 2, 3 million? What do you think that number is?
I don't know.
How many undocumented
No
criminals
idea.
there are there?
No idea. They don't even know how many fucking children are in the country because they lost track of them all. They literally are like, I don't know what the fuck happened to the kids. So we would let all these children in here, unaccompanied, that are fucking gone. We don't know where they are. And no one gives a shit. They care more that he's deporting criminals. Shouldn't the news be like, where the fuck are the kids? Trump, can you find the kids, please? Are they being raped? Like, are they being, what happened to the kids? Are they safe? They don't have parents. Shouldn't that be more of a newsworthy story than fucking Hitler Trump is deporting criminals? At a very low rate, by the way, because he's getting blocked by mayors and governors and and the news is all over him. So it's a hot topic.
As Ben said, they're getting stories out there that he's going to churches and schools and to places of work and arresting.
They're arresting the criminals wherever the fuck they are. Like that's
so
obvious.
The ones that
right.
are working jobs and
they're still criminals, right? So if I'm a criminal and I break the law right now and I'm at fucking church tomorrow with my kids, the cops are gonna fucking arrest me. If I rob a bank right now on the way home, and tomorrow I go to church and the cops are, that's where Mike is. Guess what happens to Mike Meade? Get a fucking arrested in front of the priest.
But do you know how they're delineating what constitutes a criminal? Because just being in the country illegally is not a legal thing. So, I don't know anything about this topic, right? Like immigration is so far beyond my scope as a professional and an academic and all those things, right? But when I start to research these things and I start looking at them, I see middle-aged to kind of, upper middle-aged women running from ICE agents on video. And, the new reporting will be that this person came to America 20 years ago, had some kids, just works like a cleaning job, and is getting deported. So, that is sympathetic to me. I feel awful for that person. Are they here legally? No. I do have issues with that, right? I don't come from that background. I come from a very fortunate, privileged background where it's I was born in a place where there's opportunity and happiness and all of these things. So, it's hard for me to imagine, wanting to just go to another country, be there illegally, live under the table, all of those kinds of things. But it is very sympathetic to see that. And, I don't think that these people that you see on the street in LA, which quite frankly, is a very tiny fraction of the people in LA, the area of LA, all of those things, the businesses in LA, the cars in LA, right? Um, it's a very small fraction of it. I don't think those people are out there because they're like, "Oh, they took my, like, favorite MS-13 drug dealer away from me," right? Like, they're not I mean, that's not why they're out there. They're out there because they're seeing the same content that I'm seeing, which is they're targeting kids at school to try and get their parents or the kids or the uncle or whatever, which look, I don't know anything about immigration. I don't know what's on the table and what's off the table. All I know is what I've read recently, which is this is a non-normal, right? Historically, there are certain spaces that are kind of off limits to that. And look, I don't know how I feel about that. This is not my
Yeah.
cultural kind of background. Like, it seems like if you're going to be going after criminals, and if criminals includes everyone who's here illegally, you would kind of go anywhere. I do worry about the traumatic effects that has on kids, both the kids that they're being targeted and the non-kids, and and in the church, right? Like, how would you feel if, like, ICE agents are coming to your church on Sunday? Like, I would imagine, like, that you would find that traumatic and you wouldn't want your kids to experience it, right?
If I broke a crime, I think he's only going after folks that did crimes beyond coming into the country illegally. Now, he may at some point say, okay, now let's go after everyone that came in this country in the last 5 years, right? That might be his next step. And I think that's part of the fear of the side that wants everybody to stay here and want open borders. They're saying, fuck, we got to stop him right here at the criminal so he doesn't get to that next level. Now, I don't know. If you came in here in the last 5 years, I don't know if you should be in the country. I'm not sure, because we just lied on a lot of fucking people. But if you have a criminal record and we actually know about the criminal record, because there's so many undocumented folks in the country that we have no idea who they are, let's at least get them out. Like, I'm on board 100%, no matter where you are. And yeah, if you have a kid or you got married and your kids are American, your wife's American, and for some reason you're not a citizen yet, and it kind of sucks that you're getting pulled out of the country, that's going to suck, especially if you've been here a while.
You're going to get no argument from me, Mike, on,
Yeah.
on deporting of
Criminals. Yeah.
undocumented criminal felons. That's a win-win. I mean, I think both sides, whether call yourself a Democrat, call yourself a Republican, we want criminals out of this country, undocumented criminal, every criminal. It'd be great. We'd probably be a better society for it. But when you talked about how this might be a privately funded protest, or there's going to be
Yeah.
protests popping up, I don't think you really even need to pay people, because if I'm of Latino descent and I see this, I'm already suspect. There's a lot of, even as someone who, I was raised by my stepfather and my biological mother. So my last name is Jeromimski, but as you could tell, I am not Polish. My real last name is Pacheco. My father is
Hold on a
Hispanic.
second. I'm going to report you to ICE. Yeah, I got one here.
They're waiting downstairs.
We got a guy pretending to be Polish here.
Yeah, he is definitely not Polish.
So, but that's the thing. Like, I feel like if I was raised in this country, a U.S. citizen, but I'm Hispanic, I'm immediately suspect now, and that would be enough for me to want to support those that are in a different situation than I am.
But why didn't you support them when Obama was doing it on a mass scale? Why was it so different? The difference is, he's a Democrat, and the news cycles supported him, and there was a little bit of pushback, because I did see, like, NBC and a few report, like, dude, what are you doing?
Sure,
You're like
he's
just
not-
deporting everybody. He's like,
liberal enough.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm upholding the law. The law is they broke into this country and they're out. Like, I'm deporting them. That was his stance, and he stood by it, and he went crazy, deporting a lot of people. And he broke up a lot of it, but there was no protest. So, like,
If you just
what I'm
showed
talking
me that
about is, like,
video,
hey, what the hell changed in that short? It's not a lot of time. It's like a little bit of time. What changed in the world to make deporting criminals right now? I'm not sure if he's deporting other people. I don't think he is, but just criminals, such a hot topic where you would feel like you should get up and also support that cause to stop him from deporting criminals, because that's what he's doing right now. And I looked into some of the funding. Now, they're denying that they've participated in this at all, but there's an organization called the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. It's the leading organizer of protests in California. Number one. This is what they do. our great state that's fucking bankrupt gave them over $34 million in funding. And the Department of Homeland Security, fucking riddle me this one, gave them close to $500,000. Now, that funding got cut off just recently with, I think, Musk. But that's a lot of money to have protests, because that's what they do. The New York Post did claim that there's another party called the PSL. They're a party for socialism and libertation with ties to the Communist Party that also helps orchestrate protests. And I did have a couple of video clips of folks that own companies that you can hire to go protest for you. So there's companies that like this, they exist. Like I own a private company and you can hire me and I'll get like 500 people to show up with signs and pickets and just like whatever the frick your cause is, man. Like don't raise prices on hot dogs or whatever the hell it is. And I think protesting shouldn't have government money in. Like, are you serious? Like, why is our government funding one side of an issue? Like, what the hell's going on? That's our money. Like, that should never happen. And I shouldn't be allowed to have a company that hires people to go protest when protesting is more of like, hey, I feel like I need to go out and get my voice heard. If I'm by myself and I go get hire 1,000 people because I got some money or 1,000,000, that's going to get a hell of a lot more press and maybe people start to make a change. But when in reality, that was one voice. I don't know, man. Every time there seems to be an issue that's kind of left-leaning, fucking cities burn down, man. Like besides January 6th, there's been no fucking right-sided kind of issue where we're going out and ransacking the Apple store or attacking police officers or burning people's private cars. Like, it doesn't exist, and that's what irritates me. Is like
Conservatives get that out of their system when like the Eagles win the Super Bowl or something like that.
yeah,
That's
probably.
That's probably what happened.
Probably. But they're going to snap one day. I mean, because I'm a dad that's just at home with my kids, and I'm trying to be a good husband, and I own my little businesses, and I'm just trying to fucking pay my taxes and keep my head above water. And it's like you keep poking me and all my friends, because we're a big population here. Eventually, they're going to fucking snap. And I don't want to snap. And I don't want my life to change. And I don't want this country to turn to a civil war. But there seems to be a big amount of energy, either internally or externally, that's pushing money into our system to cause an argument when there shouldn't be.
Well, divisiveness is a growth industry.
Yeah.
And based on the information that you just gave me, it's not that the government is funding one side, it's funding both sides, right? The government's giving money to a protest organization that helps organize, but then the government is also funding all of the things that are being protested against, right? They fund ICE, they fund all of these things.
Well, there are two different sides of the government that were funding each side. So you had liberal California, it was completely controlled by a supermajority, by Democrats, putting $34 million into a protest group. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, you know, you can do $34 million with, like, I don't know, any issue that you can think of. Besides, let's give money to people that just protest. And then they were grabbing money when Biden was in office. Dude, from the Department of Homeland Security. So Trump gets in and he cut off that funding, but he can't stop the funding from California because it's controlled by the Democrats. So it's like two sides funding.
Some of the things that they have to do when you put together like a large scale protest, you have to get permits. You usually have to reimburse law enforcement and those types of things. So there's a lot of probably. I'd like to see the financials of what that $34 million has actually done, or in 500,000, which is a very small amount when you think of a population of 40 million.
The government
California.
should not fund any aspect of a protest. Okay, if me and you and 1,000 of my buddies feel serious about something, I can pay a couple $100 fee to go get a permit and go out there and make our voices heard. Or I can take all of us, put some money in a hat and go do it. This is not happening. This is, in my opinion, and it's not been proven yet, but now the CIA, or not the CIA, the FBI and everybody are now looking into who's funding this. And they just arrested, I think today, one of the lead organizers of the LA protests. So I'm sure they're going to put him in a room and try to figure out, like, who do you work for? Like, what's going on? Where'd you get let's pull his bank accounts. Let's pull his cell phone records. And I think in the coming weeks, hopefully we'll learn more about what's going on. But it just seems like there's outside forces and some internal forces like fucking with us and burning down our cities and messing with our time allocation and energy. Like, I wake up and I see cars burning. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's going on in LA? What happened? Oh, and then you read both sides of the news and you're like, okay, there's some cars damaged, not bad. And then you start like, oh shit, there's like that store got burned. Now another store. Like,
really don't think we'd have to pay protesters.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I just really don't think that there's a scenario where with everything that's going on currently where we would have to pay anyone to protest. I'll give you an example because I was involved with a huge protest nationally at the end of 2024.
dude, I funded you.
You gave him $34 million.
I gave you $32 million.
At the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, we had what was called Armageddon, which I came up with the name.
Yeah.
And I talked because there was a lot of issues that are still ongoing with the world of retail pharmacy, especially. So Walgreens and CVS, the working conditions there are ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
very unsafe for patients. It's very unsafe for pharmacists. They have their license at risk. They're working under huge amount of stress. And it was an unsustainable
Yeah.
situation. So much so that pharmacists were willing to walk off the job. And it happened across the country and we got media attention. And, I went on every news outlet that wanted me to be on. Newsmax, CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox
I
Business.
saw you on Fox.
Yeah. So I mean, there is enough people that were upset with one small issue, like working conditions inside the
And
pharmacy.
you organize it. Did anyone pay you to do this?
No, but we had lots of unions reach out to us, currently established unions. I helped start a union for pharmacists nationally, the Pharmacy Guild.
God, I knew I didn't like you.
But because there's really not there's not too many retail pharmacies that are currently unionized. But in grocery store retail pharmacies, Kroger
Yeah.
has UFCW. So UFCW they were the first to reach out and say, hey,
That's a grocers union, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but they do represent pharmacists and pharmacy technicians that are inside like Ralph's and those Vaughn's and places that have pharmacies inside the grocery store.
Yeah.
But it's such a small fraction of their overall
Yeah.
the people that they represent. But they reached out and said, what can we do to help? If you're having a larger protest, like we tried to organize one at Walgreens headquarters in Deerfield. We also had one that we tried to organize in Rhode Island in Woonsocket, where CVS corporate headquarters is. And they were like willing to like not give me money, but like have locals come out and support and show signs as a solidarity for like workers that are trying to organize for safer.
You think there were locals, or do you think they were going to hire some protesters? What do you think when they said like, I get some locals to come out? Are those paid? What do you think?
No, they mean from
We need some locals.
no, from the local. The way I know you're not familiar with how like unions are organized, but they're organized into locals. So they would get the closest local to come out and say, hey, they're trying to organize for better working conditions. Let's come out and show our support.
No, I hear you, and I agree with you. So I think we agree on that point that government shouldn't be funding protests.
I mean, I've got two friends that were on the 110, like the major day. I know they weren't paid to be there.
No, there's a lot
They're
of
just
people that
Mexican
were
Americans that
not
were out
They
there.
were not paid to be there. I'm not saying everybody out there is paid. There's a bunch of people that really believe that like grandma's going to get deported, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to protest. And like, if that's her information and how she feels, go fucking protest. But you're supposed to do it peacefully. And maybe a few bad apples came in and started setting cars on fire and throwing bricks and breaking them in stores. But and it happens, right?
Yeah.
But it just seems like a pattern.
Well, we
that's
got to delineate, right? It's noise, it's chaos, right? Protesting creates noise, it creates chaos. And there's opportunistic people who show up to take advantage of that. And I think we have to delineate between the people who show up there to express their rights.
Or your friends that take advantage of it.
Well, but and the people, there are people that.
What'd you get? It was Jordans? What'd you get, bro?
I need another PS5. But no, I mean, seriously, like, the people who ransack those things, like,
Yeah.
I don't think that they were there for the right reasons. They're there to take advantage of the situation. I think we have to delineate between those two things. I don't think that those people should be doing what they're doing. I also don't think we should be taking it easy on them. I think it should be just like January 6th. Like, if you showed up to January 6th and you were outside, whatever. You go in the building, you get prosecuted.
When the next president comes in, he can just like pardon all them.
And I hate the precedent that this is set because
Yeah.
I was looking at the statistics, even before I had no idea we were talking about this today, but I was looking at the statistics a day or two ago and looking at the arrests that ramped up, right? Like first day it was like only like 40 people, next day it was like 70, and then it's been 100 a day ever since. And I looked at it and I was just like, "God, what's the fucking point? Like the next president's just going to pardon them." Like, well, like, the precedent that has been set is that like if you go out there and you do awful things and you break the law, as long as your guy gets the office, you're set. And I don't know. It's just
Do you really want to talk about pardons with Biden?
I don't want to talk about pardons, but it's just like, like I was saying, divisiveness is a growth industry. And I view all of these things through that lens now. And I really don't like that. I mean,
I hate
the
it.
fact that we're sitting here talking about it is actually
It's like giving it energy.
well, it's a
Yeah.
manipulation too, because like the amount of people in LA who are protesting, incredibly small. The amount of damage done to LA, incredibly small. Like, if you call your
Unless you're on the sushi place.
If there's one thing that Mexicans want, it's sushi.
No, but like call any of your friends in LA and you're like, dude, what's going on? They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? They don't like half of my friends don't even know that it's happening. But it's like national news, like front and center every single day. I mean, a lot of these things are a manipulation, and I view it through that lens now. And that's the climate that we live in. And I find it like really frustrating because I feel like the vast majority of us are on the same page about a lot of these things. And the reality is that, that's not profitable or beneficial to media, to politicians, to any of these people.
Sensationalism sells, so you want to make it look like LA's on fire. I'm working at a store around the corner here in Coachella. The owner is going to Singapore for the next 3 weeks because that's where she's originally from. And she was here and she had to catch a plane out of LA. And I'm like, are you going to leave soon? She's like, no, I looked to see that there's no traffic issues, nothing going on. So it's not like LA's on fire. Both sides try to sensationalize the stories to paint the picture that they want.
Totally.
And depending upon what news source you get if you get all of your information from one news source and it's left leaning or right leaning, you're going to view this situation just like everything else through your lens. And you're not going to be able to see the broader picture by maybe just entertaining the possibility that not everything that's spouted on one channel or another is completely and 100% correct.
But that's one of the main reasons I just wanted to do like this show was I wish the news can just be informative and not be tilted one side or the other. And it's like every day when you turn on even your local news, it's like every day is something about immigration. So they're building this like energy and this like negativity, and it's like it builds up in people, and they're like this racist freaking administration. And it's like, I don't know, man. I thought it was just the elite, people that broke the law.
You were
And-
probably the exception, though, by saying, I want, reasonable discourse and I want the news to come at me a certain way. But there's a huge amount of people out there that want to live in that echo chamber, that want to hear exactly what they believe. They don't want to hear anything different. Otherwise, it's crazy nonsense. And that's the biggest difference, I think, Mike, is that you're at least open to the idea that other people have opposing viewpoints that might have a modicum of truth to them.
Well, that's why both of you guys have different viewpoints in general than mine. Otherwise, I'd have like my brother Jim
Sitting in his MAGA hat.
and we be like chanting. But that's not interesting for me to talk about a topic with people that agree with me.
No, I think
I'd rather talk to people that like might agree on some points, like you did, and other points you're like, nah, it's not a big deal.
What I
Like,
would ask somebody who is super hardline anti-immigration, every single undocumented immigrant should leave. The first question I would pose to them is if we could snap our fingers tomorrow and this administration could get rid of all 11 million undocumented immigrants, which industry do they think would be on the verge of collapse almost immediately? And there's quite a few that would probably be almost non-functional.
Yeah, and
the
I'm
top
not.
list is the federal government and the vilification that they need to like justify their existence, right?
Yeah,
Like that would be the number one industry of all.
it would be like, and seriously, we do need immigration, right? We do, right? And both sides have completely ignored the issue and actually trying to like fix it. And they're not trying to fix it. It's like a drug company trying to cure cancer. They don't fucking cure it. They don't cure shit, right? They're not going to cure this problem because it is divisive, right? And it helps you get votes. If you go in and I'm going to build a fucking wall, right? There's a bunch of people that are the wall. If you come in and I'm going to tear the wall down, everybody's like, I'm tearing the wall down, right? And then they're tearing down fucking walls. And you're like, why are you tearing down the wall? Or you're like, and it turns into this like topic that helps them stay in office and get power.
Yeah.
And no matter what side you're on, it's like it just becomes worse and worse over time if we allow it to. And instead of just having an open conversation saying, okay, like what's going on? What are the true reasons like one party would want mass immigration versus the other side that doesn't, right? And why don't we just have sensible immigration? We allow 2 million people a year to come into the country, right? Of all income levels, right? So we have some that are highly educated because we need some doctors. And then we have others that like just need a fucking chance.
Yeah.
Give them a chance. But when we have the fucking borders open and we let everybody flood in, I have a huge issue with that. They weren't doing it to be nice, dude. They weren't. They were doing it for some other reason, and I'd love to figure out what that other reason is, and I don't know what it is, right? There's all these theories, but they're either conspiracy theories or they're truth. I don't know, right? Is it for votes? Is it for the dilution of the Western culture? Is certain ethnic groups easier to manipulate than other cultures? That's why Mexico is so fucking corrupt. Is that one of the reasons? Like, fuck, bring in all the Mexicans. Fucking, they let their government do whatever the fuck they want. Right? They're easy to manipulate. Is that a truth? Is it culture? Is that not true? Are they don't have that constitution? But there's something about the Western world that's under attack. I think we all need to recognize that because it is. And we all grew up in the Western world, in a Western nation, in America. We're very blessed to be here. But our grandkids may not grow up in that same world if we allow the decay to come from within. Because no one's attacking America. Nobody. They can send the biggest army.
Well, I think values shift over generations. I would say that the 80s and 90s that I grew up in, northeastern Pennsylvania was obviously a world away from where California is, and I've been in California for 17 years now. But I always say I'm from the Northeast, and even currently, when I go home, I see that things are much different in a place like northeastern Pennsylvania than they are in California. But I think that values change with the generation. And there was a lot of great things about growing up in the 80s and 90s. But there was also a quiet, understood racism that existed in a place like where I grew up
And it was nice. It was a nice racism, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in the South. I wouldn't describe it as
It's not nice. And like my wife's Hispanic, right? My kids are all half Hispanic. I don't have a racist bone in my body, but I do believe that cultures are different. And the fact that they allowed us to get to a point where you can't even fucking joke about all these people over here and anything about them. Like, how dare you censor my speech? And you as a comedian,
you will not find me
pissed.
Of course, and
I'm pissed because I'm like, dude, make fun of white people.
Yeah.
Make fun of Italians, make fun of Irish, make fun of Jews, make fun of Mexicans. They all have funny shit that's part of their culture. And the fact that it got so bad that like comedians were being censored, like that's crazy.
You can
like,
joke about anything.
You're a comedian. What do you like?
You can joke about anything, and this is where the left definitely got it wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons why Trump won this last election, but I always like to point to the Joe Rogan,
It's his hair,
and the Kill Tony, and that whole subset of
beautiful head of hair.
Young, lower middle class to lower middle class white men who felt disenfranchised by everything, and their heroes said,
and their Mexican wives,
and their Mexican wives, this is who you need to vote for, and that's who they did. So I mean, I think Trump owes a lot to comedy in general for this.
His
last win.
Do you feel now you can joke about?
Well, I always did, because here's the thing. I consider myself a liberal. I consider myself a progressive.
But if you got out there tomorrow and started going like 20 minutes hard at African Americans, like, do you think you'd be censored or
you always run the risk? Believe me, I've been tried to be canceled on my social media platforms a bunch of different times for ridiculous things. Like, I've made jokes about the GLP-1 analogs, which is like Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound. I've made jokes about the one time I put up this tweet about how
I remember
everybody was looking for Ozempic and Wegovy everywhere. I'm like, you know what's ironic is that if it was something along these lines, I'm paraphrasing here. It's ironic that if these people actually walked to each location looking for their Ozempic and Wegovy, they wouldn't need it in the first place. And I was just like, oh, still have time to take this down. This is such bullshit. I can't believe you're a healthcare provider. kill yourself, like those kind of things. And then when it gets really bad, they'll like DM you, and then they'll like find out, try to where you work, and like see if they can get you fired and all this kind of shit. But
Nice.
I've just said, I am not going to apologize. Maybe the messaging is wrong, but I'm never going to apologize for a joke, because that's essentially what it is. There has to be an exaggeration. There has to be something that you're trying to poke fun at. And it wasn't about fat shaming or body shaming. Look at me. I'm trying to be a fat person
No,
and
it
own
was
it
it
now.
was actually a truth.
Yeah.
It was a truth. Like if
And
like
if there's something that rings in that little bit of truth, sometimes it
dude,
bothers.
Mexicans love beans. Like that's not like me fucking making fun of Mexicans. Like they fucking like beans. They put beans in there, and everything's got beans in it, right? It's a truth, and
It's a carb heavy.
it's carb heavy. It like fills them. It's cheap,
Yeah.
but yeah, I get it.
Truth.
But I don't think comedians can go up and be like they were in the 80s.
Oh no. I would love to. One of my favorite comedians is Carlin, and it's funny because he was an atheist, and there's a lot of things I disagree with, but he was one of my favorites, and I wonder what he would say about the current state of comedy and our culture
I
right
already
now.
know what he'd say.
Oh, he'd be disgusted.
Yeah, he'd be disgusted.
And so how you feel right there about the censorship, I feel like on a billion other issues
Yeah.
that are touching the same vein and things that I think are important, right? It's everything from like the whole COVID thing was insane. That's what actually woke me up. I thought everything is great. Like I'm just going to do my thing. Country's awesome. We're safe. America's doing the right thing around the world, and we're safe, and our sphere of influence is good, and we're the good guys. And like it turned me into this like digging deep on a million different issues and not liking what I found at every turn. And it's not a Democrat Republican thing. It's just the whole government of America and a whole bunch of outside influence coming in, not just from billionaires, but from countries that have completely got inside of our country like a cancer, and we're eating ourselves alive, and we're not even realizing it. And it scares me.
I think that's if you were to like really dig in statistically
Yeah.
to equality, income levels, foreign influence, amount of billionaires versus amount of middle class people from when Obama was deporting to now, I think the deportation, or the push for deportation that is currently going on, the resistance to that is not simply I don't want to see my grandmother gone. I think it's the sum total of these things, right? All of these things, all of these cultural issues that are making life harder for everybody is making the deportations more sympathetic to a lot of people. When Obama was in office, I think, less middle class folks like dreaded having to go to the grocery store because the grocery store is so fucking expensive now. I think a lot of this stuff is we're not just looking at this as one issue. We're looking at this as a cultural reaction to the sum total of what a lot of people are experiencing right now.
But you're not going to make America and our citizens a stronger culture and the middle class stronger by importing 11 million people. Like that doesn't work. Like it's already overwhelmed California's healthcare system. It's fucking collapsed. Can't afford it. Right. We're done. And it trickles into every aspect, from like housing to jobs to really straining the system that's there to be the safety net for when, you get in trouble, or you're like your kid one day loses his job and he's like, shit, I need some help from the government. Are those going to be there, those programs? And we can do a whole episode on like, we're gonna, on like the government, like what's wrong. But, it's almost as if like they're fucking up pretty bad and not doing a good job in any aspect. And then they're like, okay, now at the same time, let's overwhelm the system with a bunch of extra people. And then let's get everybody fighting. Let's get them all to fight each other. And it's going to help one part or the other. It doesn't matter. It's both the same. And the system's going to collapse, and we're going to be like Rome, dude. Like we're going to be done.
You keep saying, I mean, this is maybe the second or third time I
Yeah.
heard you talk about the dilution of the American culture. And I realize 11 million people, they're not all coming to California, but we have, I don't know how many, 2 million, 3 million of those undocumented immigrants are probably in California. American culture to me is an amalgamation of like all of our cultures from Western cultures, Eastern cultures, every different country, and that it becomes part of the American identity. So Hispanic, Spanish culture,
Mhm.
Central American and South American culture is part of the American identity already. And it's just like, I think it's maybe you didn't have as much exposure to it, or certain people didn't have as much exposure to it. When I even went home just recently, that like in the last month to northeastern Pennsylvania, I was the brownest person growing up in my town, and now there's like Mexican restaurants on every other corner.
Disgusting. Just kidding.
It's delicious. But that's what it is. It's like there's I think people are afraid of what they don't know. And if you're not from California, you look at California and think, "Oh my God, it's like a living nightmare and everything because there's all these brown people here." Because you might be living in a place where there's not as many. And that's we just fear what we don't know.
Well,
And
it,
I think that
it's
just
not.
American
Yeah.
culture evolves is what I was trying to get at.
I would say that is the most defining aspect of American culture. That's what gives us culture is it's like
It's a
adaptability, it's
melting pot.
changeability, all of these things. It's not set in stone. It's not something that's defined by, 1,000 years of continuous, history.
Yeah.
Well, when I talk about culture, I'm not talking about white people are being diluted. I diluted myself. If I felt that way, I would have married a blonde, right? I would have married a white, like an Irish girl, right? And we had white kids and like got to breed our white kid. Like, I don't give a shit. Has nothing to do with that. In fact, I like the fact that when I come to America and Europe and another country, and then you come back home and you get the best of every food, right? And every culture's
Yeah.
here and everybody's getting along. But our country's founded on Western principles, right? And it's a form of capitalism, and it's a form of freedom, and I can say whatever the fuck I want, yet now I can't, and this is my body. I'm supposed to be able to do what I want. You can't force me to do something.
You still
Right?
can. You do realize that you feel like you're getting pushed back for when you say things that are risque. We're held accountable in a way that we weren't 30 years ago. I think that's what it is. And people say, I can't say what I want. You could still say whatever you want. Trust me. I call the New York Giants quarterback a fag all the time in the comfort of my own home. And I know that like if I said it in the wrong set of company, people would be upset. But that happens because that's what I'm used to doing. And that's a level of like bigotry that I'm okay with, I guess, in my own home. If I'm I'm admitting this on the podcast, but this is something that happens occasionally because it's part of who I am as a person. That's the thing that I'm willing to accept about myself. But you can still say those things. You don't run the risk of getting your head chopped off. So that's the difference. We still have the right to say whatever the hell we want. Believe me, just go onto the internet on any social media platform and you'll still say people out there are have the balls to say whatever it is that they want to say. The problem is now there's some repercussions for extremely bad behavior.
Well, extremely bad behavior a few years ago was me saying, I don't believe that the COVID shot is going to protect me from COVID. And I don't want my kids taking it because it hasn't been trialed properly and it's being forced on us. And I don't want my wife to lose her job because she's being forced to take that shot or she's fired.
Mm.
And I can't travel to my brother's wedding because I don't have a COVID shot. Talk about, yeah, we are forced. And those things should be illegal. And everyone that forced someone out or forced them to take a shot that was against their right to keep their job and keep their employment or to travel to see somebody should be paying through the fucking nose right now in lawsuits because that's not American. And when that shit was happening and then we all realized like, fuck, I got kicked off of Facebook and this and that for posting something that actually became true only a few years later, tells me something was wrong in America and something was wrong in the direction of our country. You go to England right now, holy fucking shit. There's people being arrested for saying the wrong thing. There's teachers and pastors and people of God that are being arrested for speaking out against immigrants, right? They don't have the same constitutional rights we do, yet they were trying. They were trying, and it was your side that was trying to stop our right to free speech. And that's why Elon Musk bought fucking X, right? And Twitter. He bought it to protect our right to at least post something that we believed in. And that was the America that I want to
I
protect.
don't think they were they were necessarily trying to curtail free speech. They were trying to curtail the propagation of things that were unproven either way.
Dude.
Or known misinformation.
No misinformation. Believe me,
The COVID shots were not trialed properly, and they were forced on Americans. Okay, you can admit to that. And you had our government using our taxpayers going and meeting with Facebook executives and all these other folks and actually paying them money, right, that we found out about, to censor, which they can go to jail for that. They were interfering with our constitutional rights to free speech using our own taxpayer money. No one's held accountable in our government. Fucking 0 people are held accountable. No one goes to jail ever. Like, very rarely.
I was
It's
putting
insane.
I was
So,
putting
like,
up stuff about the COVID vaccine through the entirety of the pandemic. Yeah, to a larger audience. I mean, I have a Facebook page with 130,000 followers, and I was putting out information and I was putting out information about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, and I worked at pharmacies that were
Sold it.
dispensing that.
Yeah.
There were some pharmacies and some pharmacists who refused to dispense any ivermectin off label, any hydroxychloroquine, any of those treatments. But the thing is that while I would try to give people the information that as I knew it, everybody was learning as they went. It's hard for me, I understand that we're gonna differ vastly on this, but the vaccine helped us get to where we are right now. And if we did not have vaccines in the population, we would not have gotten to the other side the same way.
And I'm not an expert in vaccines, and I have all my vaccines. In fact, I had my spleen taken out because I had cancer and I had to get my spleen taken out. So before they took my spleen out, they hit me with every vaccine like on the planet. Like if I could go to Africa or like everything.
Yeah.
And I was like foggy brain and like jacked up like for my surgery from all the vaccines. But I took them, and I used to go get my flu shot every year, right? And I go get my vaccines. And then after COVID, I'm like, why are they forcing this? It's like, do they know it's going to really help us? Is it? Is it not? Are there side effects? And there are side effects. And it's coming out right now, there's side effects. My wife has all these side effects from the shot. Before the shot, after the shot. Right? Major issues with her menstrual cycle and hair loss and brain fog. I had brain fog. Super bad brain fog before I went and got a natural remedy a treatment, right?
What did you take?
I did
Combo.
the frog venom.
Yeah.
And I did that like 3 or 4 times, and it fucking went away, dude. And I was dealing with it for like 2 or 3 months.
Combo is kind of is amazing for clarity.
Oh, it's fucking awesome. So it cleared me up, right? And I'm like, oh, Danielle, you gotta go do this to like help you. And she tried it a few times, but
Did it help her?
it did, yeah. I mean, not to the, she didn't continue to do it because she doesn't like the fact that it leaves like little marks. She has darker skin, so they burn basically frog venom into you. We can talk about that another.
Oh my
Well,
God.
they burn the skin and to create the opening.
The opening, and then they put a little
the-
bit of frog venom on it. I do it every month. Like, so I bring in my shaman once a month. He comes in a town, and I do that once a month. And what it does is,
Are you fucking with me right now?
I'm dead serious. It increases your peptide levels.
Yeah.
Like it's like doing a cold plunge like 1,000 times.
There's
So
19 different peptides or something.
Yeah,
that
it
puts-
boosts your immune system. So right now, without a spleen, I have a very limited immune system. I have my basic, but once you get through that, I don't have that army that goes out and attacks. So I can, a little cold that you might have or a little fever lands me in the emergency room. So I'm like, I don't know if I can die of like a fever. So I'm gonna do this every month, and like I don't get sick, right? Well, every once in a while, I've just got
Well, you get sick once a month.
yeah,
Like the combo.
with the combo, he gets it. And it's not easy. It's kind of rough, but I do want to do a show on different medicines that I've explored. And
We should.
but no, I'm not fucking with you. You should try it. It's really great.
I'm gonna have to do some research. This is very new to me.
You just found out he's a pusher. Did you know that?
You're gonna get me to try drugs on you're offering the pharmacist
It's
drugs?
not drugs. It's medicine. What you're pushing is drugs. Fucking cocaine and fucking all sorts of shit you're selling. You don't even know.
How much modafinil do you dispense every?
Just boofed some modafinil before I got here.
We should do an episode on vaccines because I'd like to dig deeper. And I know how I read a lot of your posts and stuff. How you make fun of people that are anti-vaxxers, and my kids did not get the COVID shot, and they're never gonna. Like, I'm not, until they're adults and they want to try it. Like, they're not gonna get it. I don't give a fuck.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think the kids really needed it.
They didn't need it, but
as much as adults did.
No, for sure not.
For sure.
Yeah. No.
Well, as much as the drug companies wanted them to have it.
Oh, there was a money grab. There was definitely a money grab.
Oh, money grab.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But that money grab came from the U.S. government. I mean, wasn't from us taking it. Yeah.
But you know, they had a meeting with one of the biggest lobbies, which is the drug companies, and they said, this is going to save America. You got to push this. In fact, you got to buy it and provide it for free and use a taxpayer. And like, we're okay. And they're like, you're going to get me reelected? Okay. And there's like fucking just buying up COVID shots and forcing it down our throats on every level. Like we bought it. The U.S. people, our taxpayers paid for that.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into this because this is obviously not the thing for today. But I do want to talk to you about the relationship between like that Operation Warp Speed, Trump, because like that vaccine was Trump's vaccine, man. Like that was his thing. And
one of the good things that he did during his
it's really interesting to me.
He didn't know, like, so he was like going in and was like, oh yeah, we got to do this. But I don't think he meant to like force it on everyone.
Look, bro, I know he's an idiot. Okay. Like you don't have to convince me of that, but like, you know, it's just one of those things where there's this like constant, reframing of history with Trump to like fit the narrative that he's the savior.
He's like Jesus. He came to save us. You know, he's a chosen one.
Jesus Christ.
That bullet that hit his ear, right?
I love that painting of God's hand steering the bullet into a volunteer firefighter. Have you seen that one?
Oh my God. You know how sick that is?
There's been a couple I've seen it the last few days because you know how he fell going up the steps to Air Force One and like he was like so bitching about how Biden was so old and decrepit he couldn't even walk the steps and you know ironically
that was a fake video. It came out. That was all AI.
I'd rather President too old for stairs than too fat for them. I mean, just straight up.
He's a good man. He's a good man.
You've lost your fucking mind, dude.
I think you shouldn't be allowed to be president if you can't walk up and down the steps of Air Force One a couple times. They should have to do that as they're having their race.
You know what? Show the video of Biden right now. Show the video of Biden. Please show the video of Biden. It's the perfect time. Here's your boy. You guys want another 4 years of this guy, right?
How long is this video?
16 hours.
1:54. Look, if this was Trump speaking in incoherent sentences, it would be hours long.
Trump's like a golden eagle.
A retarded eagle.
I think it's a fucking robot.
No, man, my uncle is younger than Biden right now, and he's having serious mobility issues. My mom is significantly younger than him, having significant mobility issues. It sucks.
Yeah.
I think about being in my 70s and wanting to do this stuff. I fucking don't want to do shit like this now.
The fucking robot. This.
He's the first humanoid. You were worried about that in the last episode, so he's obviously a humanoid.
Getting old is hard.
Yeah, shit, man. I walk like that in the morning now, and I'm 47.
You guys are always making excuses for Biden, see?
I'm not making excuses. He's a fucking robot, bro.
I don't. Nobody that I know that's a liberal has like I love Biden shirts and fucking hats and shit
I'm not
like
in
that.
here talking about how Trump's like discussion and reading comprehension went from like 8th grade level to 5th grade level. That's like a cognitive decline that I would expect to somebody his age. I'm just saying he was dumb to begin with, and he's even dumber now.
Guys, Biden was checked the fuck out. He was not running the country. He wasn't signing like, come on. Like, you guys got to admit that. Like, at least admit, like, dude, someone else was running our country for 4 years. It was not him. If you can admit that, I'll cut this out of the show. I want to hear you both. Like, you know what? Yeah, dude, that guy was not running the show. He didn't run the show.
I don't think that he was. But I also don't think that Trump is right now either.
No one can tell Trump what to do. That's part of the problem. He's definitely running the show.
No, but listen to Trump speak right now and how he speaks, what he talks about. I mean, the guy, I don't think he reads his briefings. I think a lot of stuff just happens. I think a lot of stuff just happens and they say, okay, this is what we're doing. And he's like, all right. And he's like, I gotta seem like I own this.
We're going to finish the show with a montage of Biden falling. Okay, that's how we're going to finish the show for you two guys.